We have hot takes on teams in the Big Ten, from the AP 25 to who's going to be fired first, plus fall camp updates and expansion of the Big Ten. We cover all that today on the Locked On Big Ten Squad.
You're talking ball with the Big Ten Squad, sponsored by Game Time. From USC to Ohio State, from Michigan to Oregon, from Nebraska to Washington, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big Ten weekend. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up, you're part of the Big Ten Squad.
It is the Locked On Big Ten Squad this week. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I guess I'm the neutral arbiter of all things college football and college sports.
Don't you dare take my title from me, Jacob.
I haven't gotten to your title yet, Mr. Spencer McLaughlin, who is not good enough to be at home to host this show like he normally does. We have Mark Culkin of Locked On USC. We've got Trent Condon of Locked On Hawkeyes. There is Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On...
Of Amazon warehouses.
What would you like to be referred to as this week, Spencer? I'll give you your
Locked
pick.
On. I am locked on
everything. Zach Seiko of Locked On Nittany Lions, and Nick Arvin. He returned. He's back for week 2 from Locked On Boiler Makers. Folks, we're going to have a couple joining us as we go as well. And we're going to get fall camp updates. We're going to talk about Big Ten expansion. But we start today's show. This is family style today. Everybody jumping in. Give your picks. Give your thoughts. Give your reactions. Couple of hot takes around the Big Ten. And we start with the newest released AP Top 25. It came out earlier this week. The Big Ten had 6 teams ranked in the Big Ten, or in the top 25. SEC had 10 ranked in the top 25. Is this truth? Is it real? Is it right? Or is it just SEC bias like it normally is? Give me your thoughts. Give me your takes. SEC bias in the top 25 or no?
Yes.
There's plenty of it to go around. I mean, we're used to it at this point. I don't know how many national championships in a row the Big Ten will have to win in order to get the respect that it probably deserves compared to the SEC. Why don't we just make it 3 in a row as a conference this year and then see what the conversation is like? But yeah, I looked at a number of teams, like Florida in the top 15. I'll give a neutral arbiter stance here, one could say. Michigan at 14 is laughable. That is way too high. Florida at 15 is way too high. What is Tennessee doing in the top 25 when they lost their quarterback? And why is Oklahoma inside the top 20 off a 6-7 season? Just the inconsistent logic applied by a lot of AP voters, I think, is rather prevalent, because the thinking with Oklahoma is, well, they didn't end well, but they had a great offseason. Well, so did a number of teams. And by the way, why is Texas Tech number 23? They had a better season than Oklahoma last year. They didn't lose to Navy, and they had a great offseason with a top 3 transfer portal class. Why are they at 23 and Oklahoma's at 18? I have a suspicion.
All right, Mark, you said there's SEC bias, but I think you just believe that in general, don't you?
I've just seen it longer than most of the people here in the room, probably. It's just, it is what it is.
Mark is old was the takeaway there. Mark is old.
Yes. It's wash, rinse, repeat. Every year the SEC comes out immediately, we're the best conference in the country, yada, yada, yada. They read from the same manifesto, and then the next poll comes out. You've got, 10 SEC teams ranked, and Spencer made the case. Why is a 6-7 Oklahoma team, forget the top 20, why are they in the top 25?
Yeah.
Period. I mean, it makes zero sense. Because they address certain needs in the transfer portal. Well, every team, addressed certain needs. So it's just a bias. It's a hypocrisy, and you learn to live with it. I'm not saying that USC deserves to be in the top 25, but I think when you invert 6-7 and 7-6, you look at Texas A&M, they're in there. USC beat them. LSU's in there. USC beat them. What was the criteria used by all these different voters to say, all right, yeah, let's put Tennessee in there, even though they had some pretty difficult offseason things to deal with, like their quarterback ditching.
I was actually even going to point that out, Mark, that why shouldn't USC be in there? The defense took a step forward. Jaden Maiava seemed to have given them stability at the end of the year, and they went 2-0 against the SEC. Where is the thing? And that's coming from me.
Well, this is the humble mark. This is the humble mark coming across right now.
Wow. I don't think we've heard that yet on the Locked On Big Ten squad, Mark. I'm proud of you.
I had Ohio State fan do my bidding for me. I think it was on X, who pointed this out. USC went 2-0 against the SEC, and who is conspicuously missing from the top 25? So when I have an Ohio State fan, saying, hey, attaboy, I feel good.
Well, speaking of Ohio State, Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes is here as we discuss, is it SEC bias that there are 10 teams from the South in the top 25 of the AP poll and only 6 from the Big Ten? Jay, you have comments. Trent, Nick, Zach, I know you all have things to say. Is it SEC bias in preseason rankings here?
Yeah, I think so. 100%. If we're going to go to hot takes, though, I don't know where we are in the show as far as the hot take portion of the top 25. But, Jacob, I'm kind of surprised that Michigan's ranked ahead of Indiana based off last year. And you think with the brand that they have, they're going to be better. But they do have a true freshman starting quarterback, which is a big wild card. Indiana has a quarterback that's done a lot of things out at Cal. So you at least know you have a sample size in college about what he's going to be. I don't understand Michigan being ahead of Indiana, let alone top 25 to me, that's out of the question. I don't get the SEC bias. I don't get Michigan being in the top 25, especially above the Hoosiers.
Trent, what about you, my friend? SEC bias, or does the Big Ten deserve more teams?
I don't know if we deserve more teams, but it just gets over the tip. When you got 10 teams in there and you play the joke of an 8-game schedule on top of it, of course there's going to be teams that are propped up with 8-4 records, and they're going to be on the periphery of the top 25 throughout the course of the year, and it's an absolute joke. I do have a hot take for you, though.
Uh-oh.
I have it to a problem with our neighbors to the east, and that is the Fighting Illini of Illinois. 12th in the country. Yes, they return 16 starters from a year ago. You saw one score luck, what it was a year ago. They're not going to replicate that. It's just not going to happen. It is more likely they miss a bowl game as opposed to finish in the top 10 this year. There's a hot take for you. Down to Bielema, though he's a Hawkeye, he's wearing the wrong colors now.
I love it. I absolutely love it, man, because Indiana plays them week 4, which I don't, Indiana it is what it is. Since I'm arbiter of things on this show, but Spencer, you've had your time. Nick, what is your thoughts? Is the SEC overrated or is the Big Ten underrated since not a single game has even been played yet?
Absolutely, Jacob. I think it's a little bit of both. The Big Ten definitely could pull some more teams into that preseason AP poll, whether you look at a USC, whether you look at a Washington that wasn't able to kind of make the cut in there. You see that there are 10 SEC teams, a lot of those that I don't know if they're necessarily deserving or not. You throw in all those teams that do have some question marks around them, a little bit more so than a USC or a Washington, and you start to realize, hey, there is an SEC bias here. There's an SEC bias in the preseason poll. And if we think about the preseason poll, it really doesn't matter. It's just something to get the fans excited before the season. We'll see how it plays out on the field. But one thing I did want to mention is, Jay, Zach, your team's kind of flipped. We got Penn State at 2, I believe, Ohio State at 3. Is that correct? Yep. I thought that was interesting. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for both Penn State and Ohio State, 2 great programs. But when we see how dominant Ohio State was last year, I don't see how you can put Penn State over them at this point in the season.
And Zach Seiko's probably upset since his team is just beat out in the AP poll by one of those SEC squads. Texas 1 and Penn State number 2.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in here on this. And Nick, a lot of great points, but these polls do matter. Because when you're looking at the comprehensive resume, if you win a ranked game in week 1, week 2, week 3, the team, they were ranked, they were overrated. Sometimes those teams change over the course of the season. So I put value and I put stock into the rankings. So it absolutely matters where they are, whether that's in week 1 or obviously when it matters more towards the end of the season. But if you pick up a ranked win, whether that team is justified completely or not, is going to help your resume for any team in college football. Let me point out the SEC bias here in the fact that this just gives them a lot more blind optimism to brag and say that they're the best conference. Look, we have all these teams in the AP top 25. It just continues to bolster the ignorance and the issues that lie at hand here. Well, we're all through the AP top 25. Got to play the games. got to play those games. Yeah. So it really doesn't help at the end of the day that the SEC gets to basically leverage an AP top 25 poll when there's nothing to prove it until they play those games. So with Penn State and Ohio State, I think the telling part is the first place votes. The second and third place, where Texas has 25 first place votes, Penn State has 23 first place votes, and Ohio State has 11. You notice how the difference is 2, and then the difference is 12. So that's a pretty tight 1, 2, 3. But Penn State is essentially 1A and 1B with Texas, and there's a little bit of a gap. The AP voters say that there's a little bit of a gap between Ohio State and Penn State, but not Texas and Penn State.
I had a feeling we could get some fired up folks on the Big Ten squad this week with less teams ranked in the AP top 25 compared to the SEC. But we continue talking about the squad as a whole, talking Big Ten, that is, right after this, because is expansion happening? It is. But who are those teams and who do we want to see come to the Big Ten? We talk about that next here on the Locked On Big Ten Squad. This episode of the Locked On Big Ten Squad here this week is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL preseason predictions. So whether you're calling for your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or you're ready to crown a Super Bowl champion for week 1 before it even starts, this is your moment. Looking at MVP odds, Lamar Jackson is your favorite. You could go for Patrick Mahomes, or maybe you like Justin Herbert to win the NFL MVP at plus 2,000 with our friends at FanDuel. You can do that on FanDuel Futures Day. Visit the FanDuel app right now and start planning your futures bet, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, we continue on here with a Locked On Big Ten Squad. We lose Trent Condon of Locked On Hawkeyes, and we game Roman Tomashoff of Locked On Huskies. So we just little swap right there.
From one middling team to another.
Wow. All right, Roman, you going to take that from Spencer, who didn't even care to show up at his own house
Locked
today?
On Amazon.
Yeah, see, I don't even need to respond to that because everyone will do it for me. So I appreciate that.
Yes, well, we continue
on.
That's
a nice cop-out for trying to think of a quick retort, but go ahead.
We continue with the squad, Spencer, as we talk about this idea of expansion, because it is happening all around us, and the Big Ten eventually will be adding new teams. Now, whether it's like adding 4 teams like we saw a few years ago, or it is a true merger of the SEC, Big Ten, and others, I'm curious on where we stand on if you had free range, free pick of any teams across the country, who would be best, most entertaining, or just flat out fun for the Big Ten to add? Mark, I'll start with you because I feel like you could have an interesting answer. Who is a team that, if you could, you'd add to the Big Ten Conference right now?
Just one?
Sure.
Not Dartmouth. You can't add Dartmouth.
Yeah. Well, P4 or Big G5.
I think Dartmouth or the West Coast. I'll go Stanford.
Okay.
One, because I get to maintain more tradition. Another rivalry stays. If we're talking about travel, hey, guess what? It's an easy road trip. So yeah, Stanford. If I get to pick 2, give me Cal as well for the same reason.
Cal.
Okay.
They don't
Cal,
care about football.
Cal's terrible, though.
Yeah, neither of those teams do.
Well, at least Stanford, you get the academics part.
Cal is good enough to find quarterbacks for Indiana, so be careful there.
Hey, he should have never been there in the first place.
Cal was rumored to think they thought about canceling their football program.
No, that was never serious.
Are you a Cal insider, Mr. McLaughlin? Is that what's happening?
I know a couple of Cal insiders. Yeah, that was not a thing. I'll say
it was floated.
Mark again is making a good point, and it takes a lot for me to say that. But you haven't lived until you've gone to the farm and lost to a 3-9 Stanford team in front of 8,000 strong.
Hey, I can get behind the Stanford edition, but Cal would just be, I mean, do I dare say, sorry, Nick, I hate to do it. Would it be another Purdue? Just kidding. I think Purdue.
You gotta bring the rivalry. Bring the rivalry game. You got the big game over there. They fight for an axe.
I mean, whatever. All right, speaking of fighting, Nick, you and I might do it at some point. If you could add a team to the Big Ten right now, who would it be and why?
How about kicking out a team, Purdue?
Yeah.
This is the
Sorry,
year.
it's not you. It's not you. It's not a personal thing. Purdue, can we talk relegation? Purdue.
I'm in support.
That's nasty work. No, Jacob, I'm going to go Boise State with this one. I want to view the blue field on my TV. Big Ten kickoff, 11 a.m. Central, 12 a.m. Eastern time. I would love to see some Boise State action in the Big Ten. We saw them join the Pac-12, whatever that's going to be going forward in 2026. So obviously, probably not the most logistical thing in the world, but hey, that's a team with a lot of history. We've seen the Big Ten expand west. Idaho kind of gives off a Big Ten vibe, so to speak. And I would love to see that blue field on TV every morning.
I think
Boise and Chicago are like basically the same.
I mean, the Big Ten's 50 states wide at this point. It goes coast to coast both ways. I mean, that's just what the Big Ten is. And so Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes, would you want to add another big team from the SEC or the ACC to challenge Ohio State, or are you going with some technical community college, for the blind, like Mark did?
It's interesting you mentioned those two conferences, because that's where my mind has been anytime this conversation comes up about where do you want to pick another Big Ten team from. I'm going to go Clemson. Go a little bit further south, go to the coast, expand the footprint of the conference, as well as some of the recruiting when you can get some better players down south as well. I think Clemson would be an easy one. They've already been trying to get out of the ACC as well. So I think if the Big Ten did what they needed to do to pull Clemson over, that would be an easy choice.
Clemson, that's a good pick. Seiko, looked like you agreed with that.
Clemson is a fringe one. And I'm thinking about this from not only the brand standpoint, from how does it actually benefit the Big Ten? Why have we spent how many minutes? 5 minutes deep into the second segment. Nobody's thought of Notre Dame. Nobody said Notre Dame.
I was going to say Notre Dame.
The team, yeah. So
because I hadn't been asked yet.
Okay, so
Spencer, you're not hosting today.
Some of us are on the same page here.
He asked a question, I answered.
Notre Dame, like all the schools that we have named so far, the Big Ten wouldn't even accept them, aside from maybe Clemson, maybe. So, and that's saying something. The fact that they would have to consider and figure things out logistically. Notre Dame is the only school that is available, so to speak, that would actually help the Big Ten, would actually help all of the schools within the conference. All right, so as much bad blood as there is between Penn State and Notre Dame after this Orange Bowl game, that's fine. It's all fun for the love of the sport. But I can objectively say that Notre Dame is the only addition that I would make to the Big Ten, unless you're talking about poaching some SEC schools, which Texas A&M? I think Texas A&M is upset because Texas ended up joining. So if they were looking to leave, that is one of the only other schools. Those two schools are the only ones that come to my mind when you are actually adding and making the Big Ten. You make the Big Ten worse by adding any of those schools other than Notre Dame or Texas A&M or another SEC castoff.
What about the blue field, Zach?
What?
What about the blue field?
Boise State would love it. Boise State would love it. Everybody else would take a haircut. You'd have to pay for Boise State to be integrated into the Big Ten. No, Penn State, Purdue wouldn't even want that. Purdue would be like, no, don't add Boise State.
I respect Seiko because he took this conversation from what benefits the Big Ten. Nick from Locked On Boilermaker said, give me a cool looking field, man. He said, I don't care if they're good or not. Just give me the entertainment factor. Roman double down on Notre Dame, sir.
So I wanted to, but because I think Zach made the point perfectly, I'm going to go in a different direction to another RIP Pac-12 school. I feel like Utah just perfectly fits the brand of what a Big Ten team.
Thank you.
They play great defense. They don't necessarily ever have an elite quarterback, but it's just also just a fun, well-coached team. And just for rivalry's sake, because I had so many Arizona fans in my mentions following the whole Jedfish hiring when that happened. Give me Arizona, just because it's just, I feel like that's a school that we collectively as the Big Ten squad can just all kind of punch down on a week in, week out basis and have a lot of fun with as well.
All right, we've waited long enough. Spencer, whatever you want to say, go ahead.
Yeah, so Roman took my sleeper pick. I was going to mention Notre Dame as, like, regionally that fits really well. The fit, I think the association with the universities. Clearly, you guys don't watch enough Locked On College Football. You should. It's a good show. Over there's a phrase that pops up every now and then. Says me. The phrase is President's Vote on Realignment. Nick, unfortunately, that's why your dream of Boise State to the Big Ten is DOA. But Stanford and Cal actually are not. I think any of those are. I think Clemson's feasible. I think Florida State has kind of an outside chance. But if I were to have my choice, if I'm talking strength of the Big Ten, I would go with Utah and Notre Dame together. If I were to go who I would most like to see, I do agree with Mark, and I would say Stanford and Cal, because that would bring back a lot. You would have at 6 at that point of the old Pac-12, and well, that's closer than 4. So I'd go in that direction. But yeah, Utah is a great select. They do play Big Ten football over there in Salt Lake City.
I love the folks who picked. Was it Roman? You said Arizona, right? Was that one of your picks on a basketball side?
Never in a million years.
Me and Nick are the only ones who can talk about this. Arizona would be an awesome addition to the Big Ten for basketball. I don't care about football with Arizona, but basketball would be electric to add that. That would elevate the conference as a whole. But again, guys in this conference or in this
Look
call,
at Goins already punting on football season and trying to get to hoops talk because he's got a new head coach.
That's it has been popular.
Can I chime in about wrestling? Here's who I would add Lehigh to the Big Ten for wrestling.
Okay, we got to move on. One more segment on the Locked On Big Ten Squad. We're talking about fall camp updates. What's going on around this conference? We talk about that next. Today's episode of Locked On Big Ten Squad is brought to you by Wayfair. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back into a routine that you love. And Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every single room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. I've bought a dresser on Wayfair. I've got some sheets from Wayfair. And if you need anything like that, pillow covers or blinds or whatever you need, Wayfair has you covered to get that room set up or maybe finish decorating the living room. Whatever you need, Wayfair has you covered. It's the perfect time to get your home ready as the fall is hopefully approaching with cooler weather. You can do so with Wayfair. Get organized, refreshed, and back to a routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, final segment here on the Locked On Big Ten Squad, and we're getting quick updates from fall camps from around the Big Ten, and I hate to do this, but we'll start with Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On Ducks. What's going on out there in Eugene, my friend?
This is probably the worst news week imaginable. Oregon had a 5-star true freshman break his leg, and another former 5-star recruit who got injured to begin his career get indefinitely suspended from the team. So not great. As bad as it sounds, it's worse, or it's not as bad as it sounds in reality. I don't think Trey McNutt was going to be a starter. I think he could have pushed for playing time. But I just wanted to set the record straight for all the other fan bases in the Big Ten that it was not a good news week. McNutt could have been playing, Dickey could have been playing, but the headline might read Oregon has multiple 5-stars that are not there that were going to be a week ago. That's true. But luckily Oregon's got enough talents where neither one of those guys were going to be high-end starters necessarily this year. So I think they will be all right, but just wanted to make sure I could set the record straight. But I should make my flight, because if I miss it, because I was talking with you hooligans, I am going to be really upset.
Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On Ducks. Thank you, sir. We'll see you again back here on the squad next week. We'll go in reverse order here as Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes. The whole order just changed on me. Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes. Updates in Columbus. Good, bad, or just kind of
A little bit of some of all of that, honestly. We're still waiting for Ryan Day to announce a starting quarterback. That is expected to come after the second scrimmage of training camp, which is going to be this coming Saturday. There was a little injury early on in camp from Edric Houston, starting D tackle. He is back in camp, and he is healthy and ramping up for the game against Texas. Earlier this week, there was a little confusion in regards to the clarity we thought we were going to get with the starting offensive line. Seems like Austin Serveld is exclusively at left tackle. Minnesota transfer Phillip Daniels has been doing what he needs to do to move up the depth chart, and he might be the starting right tackle. But when people thought it was going to be the Rice transfer and Ethan Ananwa, it doesn't sound like that's going to be a thing because he's been working at guard. There's a lot of moving parts. A lot of it is confusing. the clarity that people want with the starting O-line is not there, but expect an answer with a starting quarterback early next week.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, let's go out to Seattle with Roman Tomashoff of Locked On Huskies. And can you tell me why Damon Williams so far through fall camp has looked like a Heisman Trophy dark horse?
He's been just absolutely spectacular, truly, during fall camp, where on my Thursday edition of Locked On Huskies, I've talked about how he's been like just truly inaccurate for the last couple of days, which has just not been the case for the rest of fall practice. He's done a great job protecting the ball. He's somebody who I called him one of the best weapons in college football because of the way he can get outside the pocket and throw on the move. Jed Fish has done such a great job creating just different scenarios for him in terms of bootlegs and just different things he can do in the offense where he can utilize his athleticism in space, and just he turns up field and can pick up 6, 7, 8 yards when he's not being accurate. And at the same time, he's got a really fun trio of wide receivers in Denzel Boston, a preseason All-American who is making his return to the practice field on Thursday after dealing with a hernia surgery. And then Rashid Williams and Zach's favorite wide receiver, Omari Evans, who has been really, really solid in camp as well. And then on top of that, the offensive line has been the biggest thing to watch, where Washington's got a really solid group of a mix of young guys and veterans, where Carver Willis at left tackle from Kansas State has looked really solid. I really like how Landon Hatchett and Jurassic Party, the two returning starters from last season, have looked as well. The one competition has been at left guard, where it's redshirt freshman Paki Finau versus true freshman John Mills. And both those guys have just looked really, really good. John Mills is somebody who I've been really excited about for a while. Washington flipped him from Texas late in the process last season. And I just look at both those guys, and I think that no matter who ends up winning the starting job, A, both those guys are going to play a lot, and B, I think the future of this offensive line is in really good hands.
Let's stay on the West Coast with Mark Culkin with USC. And biggest storyline up to this point is what?
I don't know if it's the biggest, but USC had have their presumptive starting nickelback probably be gone for the year. He had one of those non-contact type of injuries during practice, Prophet Brown. So they're kind of playing around back there trying to decide, how the dominoes are going to fall. As far as on the offensive side of the ball, offensive line is pretty set. They're, again, trying to figure out right tackle, left guard. Where's the depth is really what the issue is. I was kind of surprised to hear Jay talking about their offensive line and they're relying on transfers, which was interesting considering how well you guys recruit. Anyways, so you have that. And then
still talking smack. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I have to. That's who I am. But other than that, USC has a scrimmage on Friday that I'll be at. I'm not sure what I'll be able to talk about afterwards. Right now, it's a matter of the defensive line is taking all the headlines. It's kind of, and I hate to say it like this, but it's a little bit of a rich man problem right now. Is Coach Riley has to find playing time for the depth that they actually have compared to what we saw last year. So positives on the defense side of the ball. Offense, a little skeptical until I know for sure what's going on there. If Jaden Mayaba makes smart decisions, USC should be a 9-win team. And Nick, I heard your hot take. Kids say the darndest things.
The hot take being that Purdue was going to upset USC, correct, Nick?
I stand by that, Mark. I stand by that, Jacob. You're free to come on Locked On Boilermakers whenever you'd like.
Mark he will take you up on that.
To discuss that week 3 matchup in West Lafayette.
Oh, my gosh.
I'll let you think about it. We'll talk the week up. You can think about it.
Well, speaking of non-rich man problem, let's stay with Nick Narvin of Locked On Boilermakers. New coach, new players, new everything, man. What the heck's going on there, West Lafayette?
Well, I can assure you that we will be relying on transfers. Barry Odom brings in 50-plus transfers this offseason, and the key storyline is still at that quarterback position. We're less than 3 weeks out, almost 2 weeks out from week 1 against Ball State, and the quarterback has not been named. The two front runners right now are Ryan Brown, who was at Purdue last year, transfers to Chapel Bill over there in North Carolina, and comes back in April following the acquisition of Barry Odom, the hiring of Barry Odom. And then another guy, Arkansas transfer Malachi Singleton, who notably led Arkansas in that last-minute drive against Tennessee last year in that upset in that game. So a lot of people have expected Ryan Brown to really kind of run away with the job. And the fact that there's still a competition ongoing, there's still a conversation to be had, really shows what Malachi Singleton's been able to do. He's really been impressing so far throughout fall camp. He's been making the throws. He's been showing that he has the potential to be a dual threat quarterback and make things happen on his feet, be a good improviser. So that's really our storyline. We're working out to see who that starting quarterback is going to be week 1. Barry Odom said that, hey, these reps in fall camp and summer camp, these are more about getting guys used to our system. Whenever we get our guys in live reps in these scrimmages, we'll be able to make our decision then. So scrimmages coming up this week, we should be able to determine who our starting quarterback is.
All right, let's go to the final place in the Big Ten here on the squad with Zach Seko of Locked On Nittany Lions. Is everything just perfect, hunky-dory? You guys are just waiting for the ball to hit the air. I mean, everything's just great in Happy Valley right now?
Yeah, you saved the best team for last. So Penn State, I'll keep it brief because we're getting wrapped up here. So no breaking news, and no breaking news is actually good news when you're leading. No injuries to report, that kind of thing. But Jim Knowles, former Ohio State defensive coordinator, hi Jay, he called out the linebackers, and he was pretty blunt about what they have. So if we want to look, it's not all positive every single day of the week for Penn State right now. The linebacker depth is pretty questionable at this point in time. And Jim Knowles said that he only trusts 3 players and that he's not afraid to use 3 linebackers. He's done it before. He'll do it again. So he's still optimistic long-term. He's like, I like this player. But right now, I don't know what they can give me. I don't trust any of them. He used that word, not me. So Jim Knowles has trust issues for a group that could be a liability if they don't figure things out past those first 3 for Penn State.
We're getting into the heart of fall camp as we are counting down the days until college football. It's played this month. Week 0 will be here before we know it, and then week 1 is going to be magical. Mark Culkin of Locked On USC, Nick Arvin of Locked On Boilermakers, Roman Tomashoff of Locked On Huskies, Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes, Zach Seko, Locked On Nittany Lions. I'm Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers, and for the ones who are no longer with us on the show, they're still with us in our hearts, though. We are back next week on the Locked On Big Ten Squad. So until then, to all Big Ten fans, stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.